Hello, Kosi. Welcome to Lifestyle in Calgary. It's nice to have you here today. Could you please introduce yourself and let our audience know you?
Okay, my name is Kosi. I'm originally from Nigeria. I moved to Canada last year, um, July 2025, and I came through the French pathway for immigration. It was very tough actually, but I'm finally here in Canada.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, would you like to give us more details about the French pathway, the process, the exam, in fact, the whole details, if you can?
Okay, sure, of course. So, I first heard about the French pathway in 2023 through my brother. So, he has been encouraging me since actually I studied French in the university. So, I have a little background in French, foundation in French. So, my brother said, "Oh, okay, since you studied French, this should be easy for you. Let's come to Canada through the French pathway. You'll find it a little bit easier than those learning from scratch." So I was a bit reluctant. I wasn't really serious then. He told me, and I told him, "Oh, my French is not. It's okay, but it's not very very great to take an exam. I want to brush up my French. Maybe take a few classes here and there to brush up my French." And he said, "Okay, which French school would you like to use?" I said, "Okay, I've heard good reviews about Alliance Française. They're very good." And he said, "Okay, and okay, find out, do your findings, find out, how much they charge for class and all." And then after that, I didn't really bother to, follow up. I wasn't really serious then. I will not lie. I wasn't really serious. I didn't know that the French pathway to Canada was hot cake. So I wasn't really serious that period. And then in 2024, again, once more, my brother kept on disturbing me and all. So 2024, I was now under much pressure. You need to write this exam. You need to come to Canada. To be good for you. Definitely, I can feel. Canada is a very good place to be. So from the few months I've been here. So I said, "Okay, you know what? Let me just do this." But I was working then, and how will I be able to juggle my classes while working? And my brother just said, "You know what? Quit your job." He said, "Quit my job." How will I quit my job? He said, "Quit your job." So after some back and forth, I had to stop working. So I made enquiries in Alliance Française in May 2024. I told them I would like to start classes, but I am not a beginner. So they said, "Okay, no problem. You're going to take a placement test for us to know what level to put you." Because when learning French, there's something we call CEFR level from A1 to C2. So when you take a placement test, they'll know which level to put you to start having classes. So I said, "Okay, no, fine, no problem." I went there, I made inquiries. I went to the Alliance Française in Ikeja, Lagos. I made inquiries, and I even took the placement test that day. So I was asked to write an essay. So that was the test that was given to me. I was asked to write an essay, and after like 30 minutes, I wrote, and in French, of course. It's in French. So after writing, one of their tutors came and marked it and said, "Oh, that I already have a good level in French, and she's going to put me in a B1 level. So I have skipped A1, A2, and now I am in B1 level, thanks to me learning French in school, in the university, in Unilag." So I started class. I quit my job in June, and I started classes with Alliance Française. I used to have morning classes with them, 3 hours every day, Monday to Friday. So in every level, in every CEFR level, yes, it's always still shared. So I started, my first class was B1.1. After that, it was B1.2, and then B1.3. And that took me a total of 3 months, almost 4 months to complete. So every so when I did B1.1, that was for about 20 days. And then we'll go on a short break, a 1 week break, and then we will resume classes again. That's B1.2, 20 days again, and then we'll go on another break. So that was how we kept on going. So I started my classes in Alliance Française. It was tough. Sometimes, in class, because we are always working on the 4 categories of learning a language: the listening, the reading, the writing, and the speaking. So the reading is, I won't really say it's not difficult. Thanks to dictionary, any word you don't understand, you can go to the dictionary and check out the meaning. So, but where I had problem was the speaking. I had this fear of just opening my mouth to speak. And when you can get past this fear, definitely you'll be able to write any exam in French. The fear of speaking is what keeps some students at a standstill. They're not able to move forward or progress. So I had difficulty in speaking and in listening. Those were my 2 difficult parts of the language: listening and speaking. So whenever we had classes, it was a 3-hour class every day. So with a 15-minute break. So whenever we had classes, if we do listening today for class, the next day is definitely going to be reading. That's how the textbook that we used to use was. It's called Atelier, Méthode de Français. So that was the textbook we were using. So there's always a listening part. When we listen, we answer the questions. So by answering the questions, we are working on our speaking. And then then the next day we'll have a reading passage, we'll read, and then we'll also answer the question, still working on. So it's always an interactive class. We are always speaking, answering questions. So I used to have a lot of difficulty with the listening because the French speak so fast. They speak so fast. So sometimes when you listen, the first ever listening that I did from that textbook, I listened like 5 times. I still didn't understand what they were talking about. What was the main message in the listening? I didn't understand. So then I used to, at least I would listen and all. I even used to sometimes, before I then found out that there were transcriptions at the back of the page. When I'm listening, I'll be reading the transcriptions. So this is what they were saying and all. And then, so before every class, our tutor would tell us to go and read or listen to the class, to the work for the next day. So we'll go home, and since I wasn't working, I had all the time to focus on my French, because that was the end. My end goal was to write my exam in December of 2024, and this was already June when I started my classes. So I'll go home, study so many materials. After class, since it's an English speaking country, Nigeria, after class we just stop speaking French. By the time we're on the way going home, we switch to English with people that we know and strangers and all. So the only place we ever got to practice our French was in class. But I didn't let that stop me. When I got home, I used to, study a lot. I used to work on my workbooks. So any grammar that is learned in class, I'll study it in my workbook, practice some exercises. I used to go to YouTube. YouTube was my friend then. I used to listen to podcasts. I used to, anything that's French related that comes up on YouTube, I'll watch it, learn more things and all. So it was very good. I used to always listen to podcasts a lot, on my way to school, and when I'm coming back, I'm always listening to podcasts. When I'm doing things at home, I'm always listening to podcasts in French, because our tutor told us that it will greatly improve the way our brain, processes what we are listening to. With time, it will get better. So since I knew that listening was really giving me a problem, I focused on it. I used to listen a lot and all. But when I was still having my B1.1 classes, I was still having the fear to speak. I really didn't speak in that class. I don't know why. Will I say I didn't enjoy the class, or I was just so scared to speak? At a point, the tutor would then single me out and ask me questions just to ensure that I, participate in class. So that was going on, and I continued practicing, reading, digesting any French material I could find. And then by July, we moved to our B1.2 class, and then we got another tutor. And honestly, I really enjoyed that class because I learned a lot. I really enjoyed that tutor. He was a very, very good tutor, Monsieur Lukman, very good. So I enjoyed that class. I learned a lot, and then I now decided to get serious with my Duolingo, and I continued learning passively through Duolingo. So Duolingo helped me a lot in a way that it helped me to retain vocabulary, because when you learn a new word on Duolingo, the word keeps coming up as you are, learning with Duolingo. So with time, it will stick to your brain. That new word you just learned will stick to your brain. So I learned a lot of vocabulary with Duolingo. I'm still using it till now to, practice my French every day. So I decided in that class that I must speak, that I must overcome that fear of speaking. So I used to make sure that whenever the tutor asks a question, I must speak, even though it's not correct. Most people will correct you. He will say, don't say it like this, is how to say it. So I started overcoming that fear of speaking little by little. And then we started our B1.3 class. And it was still that same tutor that still taught us in that B1.3. And honestly, before we even had that class, we went on a 1 month break, because in Alliance Française, if you don't have a particular number of students, a class cannot be opened. And the least number of students that was needed was 6. And one of our classmates recently gained admission, so she had to leave Lagos and she moved to Abuja. So we then became 5, so a class could not be open for us. So we had to wait for those that were doing the class below, below us. So we had to wait for them to finish and meet up with us. So we were now combined. The classes then became afternoon class, no longer morning class. And I had difficulty with afternoon class, because to me, having afternoon class by 11:30 to 2:30 or 2:45, to me, the day is wasted. I can't do much again. By the time I come back, I'm tired. The sun, you see my skin now, just look at me. I'm an albino, and the sun is not good for my skin. So I really didn't like that afternoon class. Well, I had to take the class. I had to go, because I couldn't wait another month, because my goal was to write the exam in December. So while these classes were going on, now there are 2 exams to write for the French pathway to Canada. You can either take TEF or TCF. So I was still debating which one is better, which one is easier, which one. So actually, they are both the same thing. There's no easier way. You just have to, check which parts am I stronger in. Am I very good at listening? Am I very good at writing? For TEF, actually, if listening and reading are easy for you to do, and speaking you are having problem, then you can't take TEF. Speaking and writing, you can't take TEF. If you find listening and reading simple, but you're having problem with speaking and writing, then TEF is not for you. But if you are very good in speaking and writing, then you can take TEF, because that part in TEF is more challenging. So that's why most English speakers generally gravitate towards TCF, because in TCF the speaking and writing are not as tough as in TEF. So when I started my classes with Alliance Française, my goal was to actually write TEF. I didn't know about TCF. So one of my classmates then said, oh, why not take TCF? TCF is better. Most people don't know about it. As at then, most people don't know about it. It's easier for we English speakers. It's easier for us to pass. And there are sites where you can pay and get past questions to practice your speaking and reading, and in short, the 4 categories, you can practice them there. So I said, so there's a site like this. How good is the site? Is it really? I said, oh, it's good. So then we finished our B1.3 class, and then, I now had to ask my tutor, oh, monsieur, do you feel that at this stage where I am, I can write the exam? Then he told me that, oh, to me, you are 75% ready. But I would really like it if you could also finish B2. If you could start and finish the B2 level, then you would be totally ready to write the exam. But my classmates, but people didn't really want to register for B2 because then Alliance Française increased, in short, doubled their fees. So people really didn't want to, take classes with them and all. So the least number of people needed to register was not complete, so that class could not be registered. So then I continued my classes with Alliance again. So I then turned to self-study. I started studying alone, and it really wasn't easy, because when you are studying with a tutor, that you get to ask them questions. Why is this like this? Why is this not like this? Why is this used? But self-study is quite difficult, so I had to find books and all. I started going to YouTube looking for places where I could practice TCF questions, and then I turned to ChatGPT, my very good friend. Anything I don't understand, I would ask ChatGPT, why is it in French? Why is this like this? Why is this like this? And then I continued. So I didn't have class in October. I now became really serious with my Duolingo and self-study before we then resumed our B1.3 class in November. And after that, we couldn't continue classes again because Alliance Française increased their fees, and we just couldn't continue classes again. And remember, I was to write my exam in December. So, but I then told my brother that, okay, Alliance Française doesn't really host exams in December. There's no date for December. And also, I don't think I can write it in December. Secretly, I was happy that I'm not writing the exam in December, that I could postpone it to the next year, which is 2025. So, will I say, fortunately and unfortunately for me, Alliance Française brought out exam dates for the month of December in November, in let's say beginning to middle of November. They brought out some new exam dates, and then I saw it. I was not receiving too much pressure from my brother. You must write this exam, time is going, write this exam. So I just, make I just close eye. Let me speak pidgin. Make I just close eye, write the exam. So I registered for the exam. That was 710,000 naira. I registered for the exam, and then it now dawned on me that it's time to get serious, really, really serious about this exam. So the date I registered for the exam, the date I chose was the 9th of December, and when I registered was in November. I can't remember the exact dates, but let's say in middle of November. So I had just like more or less 22 days to prepare. That's 3 weeks. So I told my very good friend then, Godwin, I've registered for this exam. So he said, you've registered? He said, you get mine though. You registered for this exam. So what are you using to practice your TCF? I said, well, I'm sure practicing. Have you subscribed to that site? Have you, paid that site so I can get passport? I said, no. He said, better hurry up and go and get and pay and, subscribe for the site so that you can practice the past questions, He now still asked me, do you have a tutor? I said, no, I don't have a tutor. He said, you have to get a tutor. You have to really get it. That is going to coach you on the structure of the TCF exam. I registered for TCF, not TEF. On the TCF exam, you have to get a tutor. So my brother also introduced me to one of his friends, who also took the exam in the beginning of 2024. So he spoke to me. He also recommended that site that my friend Godwin also recommended, and then he also connected me to the tutors he used. So I then got in touch with his tutor, the tutor I used, and we spoke, and then we started classes. So my tutor, then the tutor I decided to use, was already in Canada, so he couldn't take me due to the time zone, the time difference and all, and he said it was only available on the weekends, so we couldn't do really intensive classes. So I could only do Saturday and Sunday classes with him. So I did 1 hour 30 minutes Saturday, 1 hour 30 minutes Sunday for those 3 weeks. So I only did add classes with him for 9 hours before my exam. So I only had 3 weeks to prepare, to master the structure of the exam, to practice past questions and all, and practice my speaking. So I was really scared, I won't lie.
Can you tell us a bit about the exam proper, on the exam day?
Okay, so before the exam day, I started having classes with my tutor. He coached me on the things to do, how to pass the exam and all. So in the exam, we have the reading part, which is 39 questions, 60 minutes. We have the listening, comprehension oral, the listening, which is also 39 questions for 35 minutes. Then we have the expression écrite, which is the writing. Also, we have 1 hour, 60 minutes to write 3 tasks. And then we have the speaking, which lasts 12 minutes, also 3 tasks. So on the day of the exam, it was on a Monday. I was really scared. I felt sick the day before the exam, the Sunday before the exam. I don't know if it was exam fever. I was really scared. Like, what if I don't pass this exam? Because I felt I wasn't well prepared. I felt like 3 weeks was not enough to prepare for the exam, practice past questions and all. And I didn't finish all my past questions. I didn't practice. I didn't have enough time to practice. But thank God I passed. I wrote my TCF exam once and I passed. So on the exam day, I got to Ikoyi, because the Alliance Française at Ikeja does not host exams. So it's just the one in Ikoyi in Lagos that hosts exams, and they also have another place in Port Harcourt that hosts exams. So in Port Harcourt, the exam is pen and paper, but in Ikoyi it is with computer. So when I got there, I was supposed to get there by 8 o'clock. I got there by 7. After 7, we were asked to wait. So we waited until we were ushered into the building, and we were told to sit down in a classroom and wait until the exam director came, and took us to where we'll be taking the exam. And then she told us that we're going to do the computer part first. So the listening, comprehension oral, the reading, comprehension écrite, the writing, expression écrite. And then after that, so after we're done with that part, then we're going to have the speaking part with her one-on-one. So I said, okay. And then we started the exam. I think around 9 o'clock. We were just 5 that day. So we started the exam. Before that, your passport will be checked. They will check your passport, look at your face, look at your passport. You switch off your phone, any electronics you have with you. If it's your wristwatch, you're going to take it off, keep it in your bag and all. So then before we start the exam, then we started the exam. We started with the listening first. The listening was first, which is 35 minutes, 39 questions. So before you start a particular section of the exam, you're going to watch an introduction video to, you know, guide you on how to, you know, use the computer to answer your questions, where everything is going to be in the screen and all. So after watching the video, I started my listening part with my headset, because everyone gets a headset to themselves to because it's listening. You have to listen and answer question. So I started that part. It was really easy for me because I had practiced past questions, so it wasn't tough. And then when I finished that, I moved on to the reading. Watch the introduction video, start your reading. The reading was really tough for me, I won't lie, because I didn't practice enough of my reading, because I felt like, oh, it's reading, how hard can it be? It's not as hard as listening for me or speaking. So I didn't really pay enough attention to reading, and it cost me, because since I didn't practice my past questions, I had to work with my head. I had to, you know, calm down, read the question. And another mistake I made was I didn't start from the last question, because in TCF, the higher the questions, the more points that question gets. So let's say question number 1 gets 3 points and question number 39 gets 33 points. So I made the mistake of not starting from the tougher questions first. I started from the easier ones, and then I was, you know, moving until I had 20 minutes left. And I looked at the number I was in number 29. So the last 10 toughest questions, I had just 20 minutes to answer them. I didn't answer a question before my time was up. So I only answered 38 questions. So thank God, after that I moved to the writing part, and then when I started my writing part really gave me problem. It really disturbed me, because my computer was acting up, and the first question, the task number 1, it threw me off balance, and I didn't really know how to answer that question and all. So normally when I used to practice with my tutor, you know, he told me to share my time. I should use 10 minutes for my task 1, 15 minutes for my task 2, and 25 minutes for my task 3. And then 5 minutes to go through my work and before I submit. So I really wasted time on my task 1. I spent close to 25 minutes on my task 1, which was not supposed to be. And when I finished that, I moved to task 2. I spent 10 minutes in task 2, and I didn't meet my word count, but I hurriedly concluded, because if you don't meet your word count, that task will not be marked. If you don't meet your word count, if you exceed your word count for that question, so every task has a word count. For the first task, it is 60 to 120 words. For the second task, it is 120 to 150 words, and for the third task, I think it is 150 to 180 words. So I hurriedly concluded my task 2, so I could move on to my task 3, because that carried the highest points. So I quickly started writing, and thank God I was able to finish my task 3. Immediately I finished, I had just 1 minute 30 seconds left, so I really couldn't go back to my task 2. I just had to, you know, hurriedly read through what I have written in the 3 tasks, and, you know, check for if everything was good before it's submitted. And when the computer submitted my task, I then saw my results for the listening and the reading alone. I didn't see my result for the writing, because that is not marked by the computer. So I only saw the results for my reading and my listening. And in my listening, I got 601 points over 699. The least points needed to get a CLB 7 in listening is 458 points. So I got 601 points. And then for my reading, I got, thank God, I got 496 points. And the least points needed to get CLB 7 is 458. 453. So I got 496 in my reading, which is a CLB 7 B2, and I got 601, which is a CLB 10, that is C2, for my listening. And then we moved on to the speaking part, the toughest part of the exam to me. So we moved on to that part. So I was really bothered that I didn't finish my writing. Remember, I didn't finish my second task. I didn't meet my word count. So I was really, really upset. I went to the bathroom. I cried a little. I called my sister. She encouraged me that one has passed. Just go and finish your speaking and make sure you do it very well. So we were assigned numbers. So I was the second person to do my speaking. So we were asked to wait. So each person had 30 minutes for their speaking exam. So I was the second person. So while the first person was, having his speaking exam, I was, supposed to wait somewhere. And when you are done with your speaking exam, you're meant to just go immediately. Not meant to go back to where others are, so they cannot ask you questions. What was your question? What were you asked and all? So while I was waiting for my exam, I was really, really worried and scared and all. But when it was time for the exam, I don't know how that fear just left my body. Till today, I don't know. So we started. My picture was taken. After that, we started with the first task, which everybody knows is introduce yourself. That part, so let's say 1 minute. So that part lasts for 2 minutes. So 1 minute into the introduction, I didn't even think it was up to 1 minute. I was interrupted, and I was asked questions, because it's normal. Some people are interrupted in their introduction, while some are not. So I was interrupted. I was asked a question. From what I said in my introduction, I was asked a question. After I replied, I was asked another question, and then another question. So that was 3 questions in my introduction, in my se présenter. And then we moved to the second part, which is the, let's call it like a role play part. So the candidates actually is the one asking the questions, and the examiner is the one replying. So we moved to that part. We started, so that part, I think I really, really enjoyed that part, because it was interactive. I'm asking her questions, she's replying, I'm reacting and all. I think that was the best part of my speaking exam, seriously. From the question I was asked, I was able to ask a lot of questions, and I was even able to ask follow-up questions from what from the information she is giving me, which shows that you understand what is being said. It's not just about asking questions. You should be able to, get more questions from what the examiner is saying, and ask more questions on that. So it's not meant to be like an interrogation, like a police interrogation kind of questioning. It's meant to be more interactive. So I really enjoyed that part. And then we moved. That part lasted for 5 minutes. I had 2 minutes to prepare, and then 3 minutes for the role play. And then we moved to the last part of the exam, which is the toughest. And I was really worried about that part, because that part lasts for 4 minutes 30 seconds. So, and when I used to have my classes with my tutor, I never used to finish my time. Never ever used to finish. So I was always worried that what if I don't finish my time? And he said the examiner is supposed to ask you questions if you don't finish your time. And he used to, when I used to, have classes with him, he used to always ask me questions whenever I don't finish my time. So that was the part that really worried me, because I didn't get to practice a lot of past questions. I didn't really practice a lot. So, but he said, my tutor told me that I am ready for this exam and I can do it. So I answered the third part of the exam, the monologue. So I was asked to give my opinion on a particular topic, and then I spoke, introduced, developed my points, talked about my points, explained better, gave examples, and then concluded. And the woman now asked me a very long question. But thank God I was able to understand what she asked, and I answered the question, and then my time was up. And then she said, we have come to the end of my exam, that I'll be receiving my results in January, because I wrote my exam in December, and because of the Christmas break, so my results might be a little bit delayed. So I said thank you.
Can you please answer the first task in your exam?
Okay.
Just for
the introduction part.
Yes, please.
Okay. Je m'appelle Kosi, j'ai 25 ans, je suis originaire du Nigeria. Actuellement, j'habite ici au Canada. En ce qui concerne mes intérêts, mes centres d'intérêt, je me passionne pour la lecture, la musique et l'alimentation. J'aime cuisiner et j'aime goûter de nouvelles recettes. Mon rêve est de parcourir le monde. J'aimerais voyager autour du monde et rencontrer de nouvelles personnes, se faire de nouveaux amis, et c'est tout.
Thank you. And can you, as rounding up, just tell us a bit about your journey here, the flights, how you got here, and the reception you got when you entered Canada?
Okay. So my flight was very hectic. I came through Ethiopian Air. My first flight was 5 hours from Lagos to Ethiopia, and then after a 2-hour layover, my next flight was to Toronto, which was about 16 hours. And then when we got to Toronto, I had to go through immigration, do all the necessary processes and all. And then I had to wait for about 6 hours for my next connecting flight to Calgary. And then when it was time for my flight, I got lost. I got lost in the airport. I was so lost. So I was now looking for. I couldn't get to the correct terminal, to the local terminal. I went to the international terminal. In short, I almost got into a flight going to Munich, Germany. Thank God that they stopped me. And then I had to, I then missed that flight, and then I had to wait for like 1 more hour to get onto the next flight.
Thank you. What are your experiences since landing in Canada? What are the different systems you've seen that are different? The changes or the things you have to adapt to?
My experience here so far has been very, very good. I'm really enjoying Canada. The healthcare in Canada is, compared to Nigeria, is wonderful. It's wonderful. I've been able to, get my appointments, see the doctor regarding my skin, my underlying illness and everything. It has been wonderful. The weather is good, very good for my skin, not the weather in Nigeria. So although I'm still adapting to the cold, but I still prefer that over the sun. And I'll be getting used to Canada. Canada is really nice. And my advice for those out there, trying to come through the French pathway, don't give up. Petit à petit, l'oiseau fait le nid. Little by little, the bird builds its nest. So, little by little, you keep progressing, you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep learning, and keep trying to overcome the fear of speaking. The fear of speaking is what keeps most of us stagnant. So once we overcome that fear of speaking, there's nothing there again. So
thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful time in Canada. Thank you.